It's my pleasure to be with you today. I would like to express a specific thanks to AIMA and the World Bank, both, because for past few months, I have been discussing with both of the organizations that one of the most critical part is the professionalization in procurement, and I'm very much happy that they could consider it to have a specific dedicated session on this session. So my sincere thanks to AIMA and World Bank both. Before I introduce and I give opportunity to our esteemed speakers to put their views on the domain, I would like to share a few things with you. Past more than 25 years, I have been working with the government dealing with public procurement, public financial management, project management, and related areas. And what I have observed during all these years, I have got chances to meet number of procurement professionals across the country and across the world as well. The thing which I realized is that when we say a procurement expert, generally what I could fathom out that someone is either a procedure expert, someone is either a research-based expert, or someone is an operational expert. It's very difficult to find a procurement person who is a combination of all these things. Practicing professional is another segment. So what I have realized that what we should start thinking in the direction that should we create a basic professionalization in the field of procurement. Now there are issues. Number one issue is, if we take our country into focus, we do not have a cadre of procurement people. There is no like Indian procurement service or state procurement service. Nothing is like that. So the common perception is that anybody can do procurement. Number two is, if a person who is performing procurement functions at different levels, there are national level procurement processes and organizations doing procurement. We find a considerably high level of expertise available at the country level. And as you must have witnessed from the morning today, that we have good number of expertise available. But what at the lower level, what is happening at the subnational level, what is happening at the even municipal level, panchayat levels. So there was one figure from the morning that the procurement in India is about 20% of the GDP. Now this is another thing. Who has calculated it? Bangladesh says it is 8%. Who has really calculated it? Is it possible to calculate today? I have done this exercise since last 3 years with the government of Rajasthan, and I have failed because there is no such data. You just cannot calculate it what exact percentage is of the procurement of the GDP, because these are different calculations. Number one. Number two, it comes to the data analysis. Do we have a proper data analysis system? How can we analyze the data of entire procurement domain when the entire budgeting system does not have a major head, minor head, sub-head, object head dedicated to procurement? From where the data will come? So there are fundamental issues which we must think over and to address it. Because once the data is collected, then it can be analyzed in an effective way. So these are the issues which are before you all, and I'm putting all these questions. Third domain is coming to the capacity development. There are many people who have gathered years and years of experience working in procurement. I know many of them, but the problem is, are we creating further lines of expertise downwards? In the name of capacity building in the field of procurement, what we have, some training here, some training there. World Bank has its own training system. Fortunately, World Bank has designed a full-fledged program, which is an online course as well. National Institute of Financial Management in Faridabad is also conducting trainings. Administrative Staff College in Hyderabad, they also conduct training. And recently, L&T has also started a very good training in the field of construction project management. What other than these? Where are other trainings? There are many areas where a procurement person needs much more knowledge, interdisciplinary knowledge, multidisciplinary knowledge. What about banking system? What about the IT-based systems? What about the contract management systems related with the procurement? What about project management specific trainings? What about legal and other issues? There are many, many things which a procurement person needs to understand. What about the basic economics, macroeconomics? I have been dealing with the macroeconomics of the state since last more than 5 years. And after working in so many years in the state government and other projects, I have realized that how less I was knowing about macro and microeconomy prior to coming to the finance department. Because those things are very much essential. How many of procurement people are able to read the budget documents in a proper way? Because there are so many details available there. How many people think that a procurement plan, formal procurement plan, do you know that it actually exists in the budget document? But then still we start saying that there should be a procurement plan. So we have to think over it again. So in that journey, this is a question to all of us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to join this session and sharing our ideas and experience in procurement professionalization. I will take like 15-20 minutes to share the experience of professionalization in the bank and in some regions and some countries in the world. Before that, I would like to quickly reflect what is a profession. I mean, what are essential elements we need to build a profession? Is public procurement a profession? As we normally consider a profession, I think the first one is the education, formal education. In formal education, there should be some programs for degrees, for diploma, bachelor degree, master degree, etc. There could be also some training courses, specialized training courses following general education. And the second element is the quality standards for practitioners. And there should be like defined competence framework. And there should be a certain system in place for testing and certification, which must be required to practice. And also there should be some code of conduct, compliance framework. And there should be some professional body or professional associations who regulate all this above competences, quality, etc. And the third element is the career path. And there should be some jobs identified with procurement, and there should be a stream of jobs. And in the institutions, there should be some system in place to deal with how the professionals will be hired, developed, and how they will be awarded based on their performance, and also how they will be retained in the institution. So keep all these elements in mind. Let's see how much procurement has been professionalized in different countries. First, I would like to share the experience in the World Bank. Possibly in the bank, we could say procurement is a profession. The procurement team, a dedicated procurement team in the bank was created in early 1990s. The bank created such a team was to address very serious slow execution of the bank projects. Actually, in 1990s, bank formed a task force to review the bank portfolio. And there were serious delays in different projects. And even the bank internally considered 1/3 of our projects as failures. It's a big problem. So after that, actually, as one of the recommendations of the task force reviewing the entire portfolio was to create a procurement team inside the bank. That's when we started having procurement profession in the bank. Currently, we have 200 plus professionals in procurement in the bank. And India has our largest country team. And actually, these 200 people are scattered around the world in different country offices, with a small portion based in the headquarters. We are organized in one department with 8 units supporting the 6 regions of the bank. Some regions have 2 procurement units because they are too big. And now we are increasing our role in the contract management. Contract management is always part of the procurement function. However, now we are increasing our role, strengthening our role in this aspect. The bank procurement is quite unique. First, we called ourselves procurement specialists. However, we don't do procurement by ourselves. The procurement under the bank projects is conducted by the borrower's agencies. So our work is basically to review the process, to provide the fiduciary assurance as required by the bank's articles of agreement. And inside the bank, procurement always has 2 dual roles. The first one is, as we normally say, it's for the fiduciary assurance for the bank lending operations. And the second role is to provide advice to the borrower agencies in procurement reform, capacity building, etc. And in the bank, we are proud of our fiduciary assurance work. Our fiduciary work is highly recognized by the donor community. And they think, we also believe fiduciary assurance is a brand name of the bank work. Inside the bank, we have a panel taking care of professional procurement accreditation and standards. And we have a defined qualification and skills matrix for different levels of positions for procurement. And we provided trainings to staff from basic training and advanced courses. And when new staff, new procurement professional is hired, we always put some arrangement to ensure the new hire has a certain on-job training and also some mentoring arrangement to make sure that new person will get accredited within like 1 year. And we have a very clear accreditation thresholds. So basically, all staff are accredited based on different clearance thresholds. In terms of a career path, we have a clear procurement jobs identified with procurement, and we have a stream of jobs, positions from the entry level to senior management level. And basically, procurement specialists may stay in the procurement family for the entire career in the bank. And now we are facing some challenges. Somehow, I think procurement jobs in the bank are still not considered in the mainstream of the bank jobs. Mainstream jobs, people would say like economist and energy specialist, water engineers, etc. And some people still consider procurement is like a supportive role in the bank operations. And now we are emphasizing to be innovative and to be strategic, to play strategic role. But actually to do so, we really need new skills and new qualifications. And moving to the European Union, as we know, the European Union is like a single market, almost single, I think almost a free movement of people, goods, services, and capital. And maybe because of this reason, although the procurement professionalization is more like a matter at a country level, but the European Commission has made a lot of efforts to promote professionalization. They have issued like some recommendations on the professionalization of public procurement. They also defined the competence framework for public procurement. And in all these recent years, they introduced a lot of new agenda in public procurement, like SME access to public procurement, and also they do like promote sustainable procurement, green procurement, and also they promote social aspects in public procurement. They also organize a lot of, networking and exchange of good practices. In the country level, they have many countries in Europe. They have a different arrangement to promote professionalization. Like in Poland, they have some cooperation with the universities in enhance the formal education, etc. And in Austria, they have a public procurement academy, etc. I will not get into all these details. And then look at the Africa region. In the, I think 15, 20 years back, bank assisted several universities, education institutions to set up some procurement training programs. But basically all these programs were for bank projects or donor-funded projects. This institution mainly are like GIMPA in Ghana, ISAMI in Tanzania. These are for like Anglophone Africa. The third one is like CESAC in Senegal. It's more like for the Francophone African countries. Now, actually, over all these years, I think in many African countries, they have universities providing programs, degree programs in procurement, like Ethiopia, Malawi, Ghana, Nigeria, etc. But overall, in the region, there is a high demand for training of professors, trainers in public procurement. In some countries, they have accreditation arrangements in place. And for Africa, actually they have a very unique situation. Because Africa has quite a number of intergovernment organizations. And all these like regional organizations, they are gradually taking on procurement capacity building, including professionalization. And the main players like African Union Commission and the regional, the several major regional economic communities within the region, like East African Community, Southern Africa Development Community, in the West Africa, Central Africa, we have a YMU, we have a ECOWAS, etc. They are gradually stepping in the area of procurement capacity building. And about the career tracks, I think in some countries, there are career tracks in this public service. For some countries, like first the U.S. and Canada, they have jobs clearly identified with like government contracting or purchasing, etc. And they have, excuse me, they have a recognized definition of key competences for public procurement, like the one by Volcker Alliance. They have good professional bodies, like the Volcker Alliance National Institute of Government Purchasing. This one covers US and Canada, and also some other institutions. And there are certain institutions, they are providing training and testing certification programs. In the US, sorry. In the US, actually now procurement is becoming a very attractive career. Now they have introduced different levels of testing licensing programs. And in many universities, they provide different degree programs, like a diploma or even graduate degree programs. In China, it's quite a different story. Back in 1970s or even earlier, because the country had planning command economy, so basically contracts were allocated to different SOEs without competition. And then in 1980s, early 80s, when the World Bank started the relationship with China, the bank introduced competitive tendering first time in China. And during 80s or even 90s, basically procurement expertise was only available at several large SOEs who were licensed to conduct international trading. Those were based in Beijing. Even that was a situation until early 2000s. And then the bank helped China to set up some procurement training programs in 5 universities. And with all these efforts over years, then the tendering companies emerged, providing professional services to the procuring entities. And now, I think in many universities in China, they have procurement courses, but they are not for degrees or not for diploma, etc. In China, no procurement jobs, no government jobs are identified with procurement. So basically, the government entities, government agencies, they mainly outsource procurement services to the private sector or to the SOE. Basically, they're like tendering companies. And finally, I would like quickly mention 2 global professional networks. The first one is the CIPS. I think many people know this institute. It's called Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply. The other one is Institute for Supply Management, based in the US. They are quite similar. I think they have a very large membership, and they provide training courses and certificate programs. And there are a lot of, a huge source of knowledge. And of course, maybe you need to have membership to get into the knowledge database. And they also provide sort of consulting services or corporate services. Basically, they could be hired to do troubleshooting, to look at your corporate procurement system and see how it could be improved, or how to identify the skill gaps in your procurement team, etc. They also organize a lot of conference, seminars, etc. So, yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you to AIMA and to the World Bank for inviting me and giving me a chance to present the work that NIFM is doing in this critical area. A few words about my institute before I begin my presentation. It was set up about 25 years back. It's a government institute under the Ministry of Finance, and it was set up primarily to train newly inducted officers in government in various sectors. Through the civil services examination, officers are recruited to various services. Many of them join the finance and account services of various sectors, the defense, the telecom sector, the railways, the civil accounts. And this institute was set up to impart training in finance and accounts to these officers. But we had a lot of infrastructure available, so the institute went on into the realm of management education and started running MBA-like courses in financial management. And it also undertook a whole slew of management development programs in various areas. Now, one of the key areas which it took up was public procurement. And that, I think, emanates from the synergy, that you see. Good financial management and good public procurement practices have to go hand in hand. So the Government of India courses, training programs in public procurement sort of emanated in this institute, and over the years these have evolved to now what we run is a highly, what shall I say, evolved, and the content of the program is honed after discussing with the Ministry of Finance, the Public Procurement Division. So we cater to the specific needs of government across all sectors. Just to get a sense of what the overall size, of the populace to be trained is. I know this whole day we have been talking about the public procurement spend being something of the order of 20%. My use of the figure of 30% is not intended to challenge any of the figures that I just happen to pick it from another source. As has been acknowledged, nobody really knows what the size is. It's just seems to be a matter of conjecture. So I happen to look at a source which mentioned it as 30%, but the figure itself is not important to my mind. What we really want to signify is that it's a large percentage, and the overall public procurement spend is very high. And what government spends on is a whole range of things. I mean, we buy pins, gem clips to hold papers together, and we buy Rafale jets. So, and everything that lies in between. So there is a huge, the range is infinite, and the quantum is obviously in lakhs and crores of rupees. And as has been acknowledged by various speakers before me, in smart procurement lies getting value for money for government. We improve the nature and the quality of production in the economy and improve the business culture. Apart from the benefits to the economy, what we are interested in is for government to get the best value for its money. And one aspect that actually hasn't come up in the earlier discussion is, and this we see every day when we get trainee officers in our institute, the set of people who are involved in carrying out procurement activities, there is a sense of anxiety, almost worry, because necessarily the rules that, the framework of rules has to be exhaustive, because it has to be uniform, and it has to be seen to be applied uniformly and fairly. And the repercussions, if there is to be a misstep, are very high. The retribution can be immense. In some cases, it could just be a reputational retribution. In some cases, it could be something worse. So what we see is that It's not just that government is anxious that rules are followed correctly. Those involved in procurement are also anxious about what they are doing. So this is the training program that we devise. I just wanted to get a sense of what is the total populace to be. These are numbers, I must confess, just out of my head. I was trying to assess that if the size of the government is about 30 lakhs, that is a given. And even if about 10% of them is dealing with procurement, we across the country, and I'm talking of the entire central government, all the ministries, the departments, the parastatals, the autonomous bodies, the universities, all across government, all over the country, people are doing procurement. And if they are all to be trained well, we need to cater to this kind of numbers. And as I mentioned, the emphasis on transparency, fairness is extremely high. Rules are elaborate, and people want to understand and make sure they're doing the right thing. So what we have now evolved is, let me get on to the, it was mentioned earlier that there is no procurement cadre in the government. I think the only two exceptions to this are the railways and the defense. The railways, to my mind, is the only organization which it has, many of you would be aware, 9 organized services in the railways. There's an Indian Railway Account Service to which I belong. There's one to man the HR department, the Indian Railway Personnel Service, the Traffic Service, and then you have 5 engineering services, and one of them, the Indian Railway Store Service, is dedicated to procurement. They are procurement professionals. They join as engineers, but through training, through practice, and through years and years of experience, are honed as procurement specialists. And similarly, in the case of the defense, there is again a whole cadre dedicated to them. But elsewhere in government, people do, I think, wander into the area of procurement, and then through training and practice, learn. The earlier management development programs that we started, they culminated in a recognition by the Department of Expenditure, the Public Procurement Division, of the stellar role that NIFM has been playing in this area. So in year 2017, the institute entered into a MOU with the ministry. The ministry, for its part, wants to make sure that across people, across the government, everyone who needs to be trained is trained. And the mandate set for us was that we should run as many courses as possible and make sure that this happens. So we signed a 3-year MOU to begin with. This year we have renewed it for another 3 years. So the ministry continues to repose faith in our institute in recognition of the work that we have done in these last 3 years. So the flagship program is a basic program in procurement, which runs over a period of 6 days. And we run it as many as 32 times in a year. So out of 52 weeks, there are at least 30 weeks of the year when we are running this program. And it is still going strong. The numbers continue to, people continue to want to attend this program in very large numbers. And what we cover here are the basic principles of public procurement, which covers the procurement of goods, of services, of consulting services, non-consulting services, works, all of this. And these are all taught with reference to the rules that have been laid down by the government. The general financial rules were referred to earlier on. There are procurement manuals for each of these segments. And with these documents as the base, the classes walk through the entire process using where e-procurement is involved. There are hands-on sessions. There are case study. We use a method of caselets so that those who are trying to internalize this can put themselves in situations of doubt that they're likely to be in down the line, and try to think how these rules should be applied to the situations they find themselves in. And there has been, for the last 5 years, great emphasis on e-procurement. So there's online training provided for the entire e-procurement process. And the most recent initiative of the government e-marketplace, that is also extensively covered. The trainers, if I may say so, the resource pool that we have, and here I must confess, being in the capital city, we have an inherent advantage. We can claim the time of resource people who are conveniently situated in this city. They are all people who are experienced practitioners who have done work hands-on, because this is not an area which can just be learned through classroom pedagogy. They're all experienced professionals who have, through years of rigor, been in every tricky situation that there is to find oneself in. So it comes with like a wealth of experience, and the officer trainees who attend our courses benefit from this. Apart from the basic course, which, as I said, has been, just 2 more slides. We run an advanced course where the more esoteric areas of sustainable procurement and the other international best practices, exposure, all of this is brought into it. We have also ventured into the area of arbitration training, because we obviously, the way to any successful procurement is to have good contracts ab initio, then to have good contract management, and in the event you do have a failure situation, how to deal with arbitration. So this situation is also covered through a separate course on arbitration, which we started recently this year, and I'm happy to inform you that that has been very well received. We are getting large numbers of requests for that program. And one thought I want to leave on the table is the way for the future. After the government e-marketplace was initiated 3 years back, here we have to make a distinction between procurement and purchase. There is a lot of purchase that goes on in government which doesn't require the intense kind of procurement training that we impart in the basic and the advanced courses. So we run a 3-day module on just the government e-marketplace, which gives people who only need to do some immediate purchasing the hands-on experience of how to negotiate their way through the government e-marketplace. And the last thought that I want to leave on the table is the way forward. Just a snapshot of the numbers that we have done in the recent past. The basic procurement course has covered more than 7,000 participants, almost touching 3,000 for the government e-marketplace and the GFRs. In times to come, the thought is whether our foray into management education should be followed, should also cover the area of procurement, and whether NIFM should, in times to come, run a full-fledged, maybe a 1-year degree program or a diploma program in public procurement. But that, I think, would happen if the government decides at some point. I mean, I'm just contemplating, I don't know that there is any such thinking, that people who are to be taken on to positions where serious procurement is to be done, whether it has to be stipulated that they should have an educational qualification in that, a degree or a diploma. So if these 2 thoughts materialize, then the time may be ripe somewhere in the future to run a full-fledged educational, a degree course in procurement, and also have maybe intense research studies on, say, green procurement, or a number of areas have been mentioned, like IT procurement. There are so many issues there, and people in the hurly-burly of everyday working don't have time to sit and think through all the issues and aspects, whether that kind of research needs to be done in a place like NIFM. And so these are all, developing a code of ethics. These are all things which are very much in our thoughts for future years. But as of now, we are, as I said, enjoying giving all in Government of India a clear understanding of how to go about procuring. Thank you.
I want to thank personally everybody for coming to this event, and I hope that it was worth the discussion, the presentations. My presentation is the last, and I want to keep it very brief so that you have time to ask certain questions also. So I'm just going to focus on our efforts in India for professionalization, mostly covering the capacity building part. So just a background of World Bank relationship with India. India was actually the founder member of World Bank group, and the first operation from the World Bank in India was in 1949, which was a 34 million loan to Indian Railways. So we also have very long relationship with Indian Railways, and many of the staff members are from Railway in our office also. So if you see our objectives, we have two objectives. One is ending extreme poverty and promoting shared prosperity. And whatever we do is linked to achieving these two objectives. So because of this, we are not just focusing on the lending operation, but also on the capacity building and strengthening of country system. And in the morning, Mr. Prabhu mentioned about World Bank is also bank of ideas. So a lot of things we learn from some countries across the world, and we try to bring in other client countries. So that is the role of bank. We have been discussing about the quantum of public procurement. I don't want to add a figure, but definitely it is substantial. And if you see the size of public procurement professionals in India, actually World Bank did its own assessment few years back, and our figure is 70 lakhs or 7 million, which is covering states, federal government, all state-owned enterprise at all the levels. So our efforts are focused both through the lending operations as well as through non-lending activities. Lending operations we have in 5 states currently. Rajasthan is one of them, which Mr. Vajpai mentioned. We also have now state partnership projects which are coming up in states like Punjab, West Bengal, Kerala, perhaps Tamil Nadu, and there will be a major component on capacity building on public procurement and reforms through these lending operations. We actually identified the importance of procurement training many decades back, and in 1996 we entered into a partnership with ASCI Hyderabad, and we have been conducting the training program in ASCI Hyderabad for almost now say 24 years. So there are almost 3 programs per year, and these are residential training program. We get almost 30-40% participants from outside India. Very recently we expanded to Lucknow, the training program on World Bank funded procurement in partnership with IIM Lucknow. Again, this is a residential training program, and the faculty is also from the IIM Lucknow along with the World Bank and external experts. So these are the trainings in World Bank funded procurement, but we also went beyond the World Bank funded procurement, because if you see our funding in India is a fraction of percentage of GDP. So if we just focus on bringing the capacity and improvement in our projects, it is not really going to help in achieving our objectives. So we expanded and we went beyond our funding, and we entered into partnership with many institutions. Because if you see the size of India, if you see the number which we are talking about, 70 lakhs or 7 million potential target, then we have to create the capacity in the country. So our model in India has been in partnership with renowned institutions. So we started a residential training program almost 2-3 years back in partnership with L&T in their Vadodara campus. And this is a 6 days residential training program. almost 25 participants per batch. And we have got very good feedback for this project, particularly because L&T brings the contracting side, the expertise, and we bring the public procurement side expertise. We have also been conducting the short-term training program in contract management, which are directly imparted by the World Bank. We have almost 20 programs already completed. This will be 2 or 3 days non-residential training, but we try to cover entire aspects of the contract management in these 2-3 days. Going by the size of market, we took some initiatives in India and they subsequently became worldwide initiatives. So we initiated an online public procurement training program, which is not a donor specific or not a country specific program. This is now available on World Bank website and it is now translated to many languages. And we have more than 100,000 enrollments in this program. And we feel that if you only want a basic knowledge of public procurement, this is going to be very useful. But if you want a larger sort of understanding or specialization, then there are other programs which are also piloted in India. We also have a MOOC program which is again free on contract management. Again, it is available on World Bank website, and also a e-procurement learning MOOC program is available. So one, I think, problem area for our projects was the contractual dispute resolution. And identifying the problem, we entered into partnership with AIMA and launched this program, which is a 6 months duration program. And we bring technical expertise here. AIMA brings the faculty and other resources. And we have already completed 3 batches, and next batch is starting just now. So this is a program which is non-residential again, and it is a blended learning program with 3 days face-to-face workshop, and rest of the time it is actually e-learning. There is a diploma program launched in India in partnership with AIMA. There are other institutes like Symbiosis Institute of Management. This is again a 6 months duration blended learning program with technical support from the World Bank, and it has been offered since 2014. This is India specific program. We have been talking about this now India becoming a $5 trillion economy, and today in the presentations 1 lakh crore going for infrastructure development. And it has been identified very clearly that the lot of resources will come from the private sector. So identifying this sort of opportunity, and also we feel that there is a need for capacity building in public-private partnership. Very shortly, there will be a dedicated program in PPP to be offered by AIMA, again with technical support of the bank. We identified that there are global programs which are available from APMG, but we wanted, depending on the size of the market in India, to design a India-specific program. So this will be again a pilot, and if successful in India, we may try to replicate in other countries. We hope that this will be actually liked by Indian audience, and all our programs are actually focused not just on purchasers or employers, but also on the private sector or contractor or concessionaire. So they actually offer you balanced view of the subject. We also have been conducting private sector outreach program, and in partnership with Exim Bank, every year we have a large workshop, and idea there is to train the private sector so that they can bid in World Bank funded projects, and the bids are responsive to the opportunities. Mr. Sanjay Agarwal mentioned about the country procurement assessment. So World Bank, in partnership with Procurement Policy Division, is conducting the country procurement assessment currently. We are covering 5 states of India and 6 federal government entities in this assessment. It is in advanced stage and likely to be delivered by June 2020. And the purpose of showing this slide is this may come up with lot of opportunities for professionalization. And following this, Government of India and state governments may decide to go for a large-scale capacity building program and professionalization program. Demand side procurement reforms. So we worked with some organizations for setting up procurement observatories, and the purpose there was to identify and also help the state governments in professionalization. As of now, only one observatory is operational, which is in UP, hosted by AIMA Lucknow, but in the past it was in Rajasthan, Assam, and some other states also. So doing business, I am not going to repeat, but this is again opening an opportunity for professionalization, because there will be a lot of weightage now on public procurement in doing business ranking, and Government of India is very serious about the ranking. So we are hoping that this will open up again opportunity for further professionalization. And the last slide is on Public Procurement Professionals Association of India. We are hoping that in near future there will be association where all of you can be a member, and this will provide the platform for exchange of ideas, design innovative solution, and also providing, say, policy sort of inputs to the government in policy formulation. As of now, there is sort of discussion only, but hopefully when we meet in the next Global Procurement Summit, there will be association. And we will be helping association from outside. It is not going to be World Bank's initiative, but it will be initiatives of all the professionals.